Hello, 8th graders. It's Father Paul Seigan here. As you can see, I'm right outside of St. Gregory the Great Parish. And so I wanted to come out here because it's really nice weather outside, and maybe even to give you a little tour of the campus, because you haven't been here in a while. Things haven't really changed, but that's okay. So this is your home, and we're all excited about reopening slowly and having everybody come back to church, and we're very excited to have you come back. Anyway, so as you know, Father Moses, myself, and Joe Tokaz, Mr. Joe Tokaz, are taking over for the last couple weeks for religion. And we're so excited for Mrs. Simon and her new baby, Adelaide, and we send them our prayers and our well wishes and just so happy for them. Okay, so I'm going to start walking over here. My hair is all over the place because of the wind. But here are a few questions. How many times have you heard that faith and science do not mesh? That they are opposed to each other? You may be asking sometimes, doesn't science disprove some things in the Bible? How could the universe be created in just 6 days? And we believe in what we can see, right? It's easier to believe in what we can see instead of believing in things that we can't see. And then you might even be asking, how can the Eucharist be really Jesus? All these types of questions, right? And I'm sure that you've all heard about atheists. They're people who do not believe in God. And they believe that the only truths that we can know with certainty are the ones that we can come to with using only reason. Reason meaning our minds, right? Reason meaning our minds. They deny God and angels and our spiritual souls and anything supernatural, right? And they believe that you can only believe in what you can see and what you can measure. Sometimes it looks like faith and science don't really go together. But you know what? They do. Now let's take a little break. And now let's see. Oh, it's school. Look. There it is. It's still there. Everything's still there for you to come back in September. Actually, no. You 8th graders are going to high school. But it's still there anyway. Okay. So, faith and science actually do match. They do come together in a beautiful way. The church is interested in truth and in science. In fact, the church teaches that there can never be a conflict between the truths of science and the truths of faith. How can I say that? Why? Because all truth comes from God, and God cannot contradict himself, right? If there are truths in faith and truths in science, God is the one who created science. He's the one who created this world, right? So God can't contradict himself. So, here's a few interesting facts for you. Did you know that the Vatican has its own observatory for astronomy? That's super cool. Second, did you know that the first person to recognize that the Earth goes around the sun and the heliocentric system was a Catholic priest? His name was Nicholas Copernicus. He was a Polish monk and a priest. Okay, did you also know that the person who first thought of the theory of the Big Bang was also a Catholic priest? And his name was Father Georges Lemaître. I think that's how you say it in French. I never took French, so sorry. And he was a Catholic priest, the one who thought of the Big Bang theory. Did you know that the first person who ever invented the first vaccine for healing people and also discovered pasteurization was Louis Pasteur? He was a strong Catholic like you and me. sitting in the pews. Did you know that the modern hospital system was developed by Catholics at first? Before there were hospitals, only rich people were able to have doctors come in for home visits. But back in the 1800s, there weren't really hospitals just yet, in the early 1800s. But Catholic nuns in the U.S. helped to develop the modern hospital system to be able to minister to those who were poor and could not afford having a doctor. And so we have Catholicism to thank for the modern hospital system. Okay, so why am I saying all this? It's saying that God is the source of all truth, and truth can be found within faith and then also within reason. The church is not opposed to truth that can be found through reason. And in fact, we are very interested in the church about what we find in science and what we find in new findings and things like that. Very, very interested. Okay, now here are some Latin terms I'm going to throw at you, and we're going to see how well you listened to Dr. Emerson Stevens, who was just recently married. Yay! That's awesome, right? Okay, so first is fides et ratio. 3 words, fides et ratio. And you'll probably jump on the second word. What does et mean? It means and, right? Fides et ratio. Fides et ratio means faith and reason. Faith and reason. So this was an encyclical that was written by Saint John Paul II. He was a pope. And an encyclical is a letter that goes out to the whole world for all the people to read. And so fides et ratio, faith and reason. And this is what he has to say in the very beginning of that document. Okay, now listen closely. Faith and reason are like 2 wings on which the human spirit rises to contemplation of the truth. And God has placed in the human heart a desire to know the truth, in a word, to know him or herself, so that by knowing and loving God, men and women may also come to the fullness of truth about themselves. Okay, so you probably recognize where I'm standing. This is what's known as the grotto, right? And we have Our Lady of Lourdes here. And then, as you can see, we have this young girl that's kneeling over to the side. I'm not going to mention her name because it's going to be one of the questions, right? Now, why did I choose to come over here for a topic about faith and reason? Because Our Lady of Lourdes is an example of how the Blessed Mother has appeared, and it's an example of our faith. As you can see, I am the Immaculate Conception there. So we have an example of faith, and if I just turn a mere 90 degrees, bam, there's the hospital. And the hospital is a place where there's the best technology and equipment probably in our whole city, right? There's a lot of, it's like the height of reason. It's the height of medical expertise and knowledge. And so we see that the truth of reason is behind me, and symbolized by the hospital, and the truth of the faith symbolized by the grotto of Our Lady of Lourdes. Okay, so now here are the questions. The questions are also going to be written in Google Classrooms, okay? So, first question. Mary has appeared to a lot of people. Which person did Our Lady of Lourdes appear to? Who is that person? That's what I'm asking. And you can just write down the name. Okay, second question. Have you ever talked to anybody who is an atheist? What was that conversation like? So that's the second question. Have you ever talked with someone who is an atheist? What was that question like? Third, have there ever been some Catholic truths that you questioned or wrestled with? What did you do with those questions? So have there ever been any Catholic truths that you've wrestled with, and what did you do with it? Like, did you go and ask your mom? Did you go and ask your religion teacher? Things like that, okay? Fourth question and last question. St. John Paul II said that faith and reason are like two wings on which the human spirit rises to contemplation of the truth. What is an example of a truth that comes from faith? And second, what is an example of truth that comes from reason? So, right on cue, the bells are ringing. And just want to let you know that I'm praying for you. And we're anxious to have you all come back to church really soon. Okay? All right, me and my frizzy hair, we say goodbye for now. See you later. Bye.